Hello, everyone. How are you doing? I hope you've enjoyed the first so far, and welcome to the web track. I mean, the world of web. And yeah, so we're going to start off immediately with Nikita, who will be taking us through a session on Angular. Yeah, Nikita is a Google developer advocate for Angular, and no, is it advocate or expert? Sorry, Google developer expert. Yeah. So I'll welcome him, and then I'll have him, introduce himself, and then he can take us through the session. So welcome, Nikki.
Hey, hello everyone.
Hello.
Maybe I will start my presentation and then introduce myself during the presentation. I have a few slides about that.
Okay, sure. There's no problem.
So, could you please add my screen to the translation?
Okay.
Oh, okay. And that it. Do you see my presentation? I hope yes. So again, hello everyone and
Yeah.
welcome to the Your Angular is on Fire session. Today we will be talking about Angular and Firebase integration. So my name is Nick. I'm a Google developer expert for Angular and web technologies. Also, I'm a blogger. Here is my blog, How to Make the Software. Just check it out. I hope you'll find interesting articles there. Also, I'm working at a company called Equio. We are doing lots of projects. Some of them are open source and related to Angular. Some of them are paid, but please check it out. I hope you'll not regret about it. And of course, here is my Twitter. Just follow me. And if you have any questions about Angular or web development in general, don't hesitate. Just DM me. I'm always ready to help you. So what's the problem? What am I doing here? Okay, I think all of web developers has a situation when you need to create an application. You just want to make it. You have an amazing idea, but this application requires kind of a backend. You need a way to store the user's data, to authenticate the user, and so on. But you have no time to build a backend, or you just don't want to manage those infrastructure and backend code, or you just have no idea how to build a backend. What to do in that case? How to create a full-fledged web application without any backend, without any knowledge of the backend? And the answer is Firebase. So it was the title of slides. Okay. So what we are talking about today? First of all, we'll talk a bit about Firebase. I'll introduce it. I'll tell you about what it is, what features it had, and so on. Then I bet that the best way to learn something is to just dive into the code and try to do something. So we'll take an Angular and Firebase and we'll create a very small to-do list application with authentication, and then we will deploy it into the Firebase. All this stuff during the session. Okay. So the first part is, of course, what is Firebase? So if you ask me what is Firebase, I can say that Firebase is just a platform that is a set of tools that helps you to build your applications faster without any backend knowledge, without any technologies, or for backend without any integrations of the database and so on. So just a big platform with tons of different tools that helps you to build your applications. So here are here's just a screenshot of the Firebase website. Okay, there's a few tools that Firebase has. I can't just insert all the tools from the Firebase because it's so many tools, they will not fit in my screen. So it has tools to build your applications faster and easier. It's tools like real-time databases, authentication modules, and others. Like it has tools to improve app quality, like Crashlytics to gather error logs and performance monitoring to make your applications faster. And it has tools to distribute your app and to grow your business, like Google Analytics to understand what users does in your application and so on. Okay, but there is so many tools. We will not use of them, of course, because it's impossible to do in 30 minutes. So we will focus on the 3 of the most important tools from my point of view, okay? First of all, it's a Cloud Firestore. Cloud Firestore is a Firebase database, okay? It's an NoSQL, a real-time database. So everything you do with the database becomes synchronized across all the clients of your application. The second point is the authentication. So we'll learn how to integrate Firebase authentication. In a few lines of code, we'll be able to authorize our users. And the last point is hosting. So every application ought to be hosted somewhere on the web. If it's not hosted, it's not a real application. So we'll learn how to host our applications on the Firebase in one command. Okay, everything's super easy. Okay. And now it's time to build a to-do app. So the first point is to set up a Firebase application, like in the Firebase admin panel. I'll not show you my Firebase admin panel, but what's the most important there, when you go into the Firebase, you're creating your project, then it gets you some code and asks you to inject it into your website. What's important here is that Firebase provides this application's configuration object here. Okay, so we ought to copy it in our application. So just remember about that, because from time to time I'm hearing about people that it's hard to find the configuration object of the Firebase just because it's provided when you create the application. So you just need to save it. Okay. Then when we configured our created and configured our application on the Firebase, we are going to our own PC and need to create an Angular application. As always, we are using Angular CLI to create a new application. So I'm running ng new to the app, and this will create a fresh Angular application. And what's the most important here, we are going to the application and running ng add Angular Fire. Angular Fire is the library created by the Angular team, and it provides all the bindings for the Firebase. You know, like Firebase has its own JavaScript CDK, but Angular Fire provides more capabilities and do those things in an Angular way, like using observables and adding new cool features about deployments and other stuff. So this library is not must-have, but it's really nice to use it. Everything becomes easier with it. Okay, so let's assume we have an application and we've added an Angular Fire library. Now it's time to just dive into the code, and I will show you how to use the stuff. So here I have a code base, okay? Nothing complicated right now, but I just want to say that I've already created a full application and removed all the codes that integrates our application with the Firebase and kept all the components and templates of components just to save our time and just to let us focus on the Firebase, okay? So first of all, as always, I'm going to the app module and add import Angular Fire modules here. So I'm going here, I'm importing Angular Fire module and calling initialize app function. This function will configure Firebase for the application. And here, I just want to pass the Firebase configuration object that we've just copied a few slides ago. So I'm storing it as the environment file, and if you can check it, it contains exactly the same object that we had before when we created the application. Okay, so here is an object configuration, and we've configured an Angular Fire in our application. Now we need to create a to-do list. Okay, so here I have a to-do folder and to-dos component that has a list like created using ng4. It iterates over some items. Yeah, I suppose that it will be items from the Cloud Firestore from the Firebase. And also here we have an input that will help us to enter new items in this collection of to-do items. So yeah, what's the most important here is that we have an item stream and we need to connect Firebase collection here. So here I have a template of the component with a few empty methods that we will fill in a few seconds. So the first point we ought to make here is that we ought to connect exactly Firestore tool. Okay, so we've already installed Angular Fire module. We've connected all the Firebase. We've inserted the configuration. Now we need to connect the Firestore tool. So we are importing Angular Firestore module that will give us an access to the to the Firebase Cloud Firestore. We are going here to our to-dos component and injecting Firestore service in our component. Okay, that's it. Then we need to load a data from the Angular Firestore. How we can do that? So here we're just referencing to the Firestore, then we're calling collection to do the model for the to-do item, and passing here the name of the collection that's called to-dos. Okay. What does it mean, collection? In terms of Firebase, Firestore operates with the terms of collection and document. So if Firestore contains multiple collections, whether each collection contains multiple documents. So it's like a plain NoSQL database. If you try to explain it on the plain SQL databases, so you can imagine that collections like a table in the MySQL, whether the document is a row in MySQL, so something like that. Okay, pretty easy. So here I'm referencing to the, oh, pardon me, I'll make it bigger. Yep, I'm referencing to this collection, and I need to get not only the whole collection, but I want to see snapshot changes. Snapshot changes is a list. Oh no, it's not a list. It's kind of a stream of new lists of documents. So here we're connecting to the Firestore to-dos collection and waiting for any new documents and reading data from it in the real time. So let me show you how does it work. So as you can see here at the left, oh, not here, but here. Okay, so I have a list of to-do items loaded from the Firebase. And on the right, I have a to-dos collection, exactly the same as we referenced in our code base. And here I have exactly two documents with the same fields, with the same messages edited to the item, and with the first to the item, and so on. What's cool here is that we can add items in the real time from the Firebase admin panel. Like I can add in new to the item, talk, the fast, boom, I've added it, and it's become edited in the real time in my application. Okay, but it's pretty cool. So let's go first. We have a few more capabilities we need to make. The first one is on how to add items in the Firestore collection. So first of all, let me refactor this code a bit. Since we need to refer the collection to insert items in it, I need to move it into a separate variable. So how to add an item into the collection? It's pretty straightforward. I hope you already guessed. So I'm just referencing the collection and calling add function and passing an object inside. An object that will be stored into the cloud Firestore. Okay, let's check that functionality. Like this add method will be called when we will press enter at this input field. Okay, so I'm adding one more to-do item here, pressing enter, and pressing enter. No, something messed here. Where is this first argument to be of type object? Okay. Something went wrong with my demo or not. Just let me reload it. One more item. Okay, it works. Cool. So as you can see here, I can enter everything, and you can see on the right side of the screen on my Firebase admin, everything I'm adding here just appears here in the real time. Okay, now we know how to read the list of data from the Firestore and how to add in new items in this collection. Now it's time to learn how to modify these items. Okay, so here we have two methods, update message and toggle completed, like when we need to change the description of the to-do item and toggle it whether it's done or not. So here we're doing exactly the same thing. We're referencing the collection, but then we need to find a reference to the exact document in the collection. So we're calling doc function and passing item payload doc ID here. What does it mean? So what the most important here is that when we are asking for snapshot changes, we are reading not just raw data from the collection. We are getting these kinds of objects. It's wrappers. It's Firebase wrappers that contains metadata related to the Firebase. Okay, and somewhere inside it contains our data that we stored as a Cloud Firestore. So here I'm receiving this object item, and I'm going to the payload document and receiving the getting its ID. This ID is an ID from this list. Okay, so we can reference exact documents of the collection this way. And then when we have this reference, we are just doing set something. So we need to set a new message. What's important here is that if we just call that code, it will replace all the fields in this document with the only field message. So to prevent this and just update this field, we add a pass a flag merge true that will prevent replacing and just merge two items. Let's do exactly the same for completed. So again, I'm going to collection, calling item payload doc ID, and we'll set completed, and again we'll merge it true. Okay, that works. Let's check how this works. So let's find this pretty weird last item. I'm pressing the edit button. Let's call it edited to do item. Pressing enter, and boom, it became edited in the real time. Exactly the same when I'm pressing on the checkbox, it's become completed or not. Everything synchronized in the real time. Cool. The last thing we need to do here is to implement delete method it will work on how to remove items from the to-do list. Here we are doing exactly the same as before, getting the reference to the collection, referencing the exact item of the collection, and then just calling the delete method on it. Okay. So let's check how does it work. Everything's loaded. Let's remove some of them. Ooh, they're become removed from the Cloud Firestore in the real time. Okay, that's pretty easy. So everything you need to know about that is that you need to reference the collection first of all, then you can stream changes in the real time. Also, you can just add new items in the collection, and you can easily update any items in the collection, or you can easily delete any items in the collection. So we've just built a pretty simple CRUD application as we always need for any types of our applications. We need to store data somewhere, update it, and remove it. So that's it. Cool. So now we have a pretty good to-do list built in a few minutes. So if you don't like any to-do list software, you can just build your own in half an hour. Let's return to my presentation. So, cool. The next topic is about authentication. So, authentication in Firebase is pretty easy to implement, pretty easy to integrate. It has tons of different providers. So, depends on your needs. You can authenticate users using Google, email, password, phone, Twitter, Facebook, GitHub, or whatever you want or whatever you need. It has tons of different providers. Okay. So as you can see here in my Firebase, I can go to another tab. So it was Cloud Store. Now I'm going to the authentication. I have already 2 users registered in my app. I can go into the sign in method tab and enable one of them. Just pressing the enable, I don't need to do something else. And when it's enabled, I can integrate it in my our application in code with a few lines of code. So let me show you how does it work. First of all, let's find an app routing model. Here you can see that I have already 2 rows. One of them is just a root road that shows to-do list component, and the next one is login. So if I go to the login page, login, here I have a title and a button signing with Google that does nothing for now. Okay. Let's go to the login component and implement it. So here I just have a login method that's empty. What do I need to do here? Oh, pardon me. First of all, we're going back to the app module, and we ought to import Angular Fire out module capabilities that will allow us to use Angular Fire out. So now we are going to the login component and importing, let's call it f out, Firebase out, Angular Fire out service that will allow us to perform authentication. Then we're calling this out like a sign in with pop-up. Sign in with pop-up is a method that performs like a all-out authentication. As you remember, when you're pressing like authenticate with Google or with Facebook or whatever, you are getting a pop-up where you either click on it and say, yep, I'm agree with the authentication. But to let Angular Fire out know what kind of authentication we want to see here, like whether it's Google or Facebook or Twitter or whatever. We had to provide sign-in strategy. We can do that using new auth. Oh, pardon me, I had to import it from the Firebase module. And here we have Google Auth Provider. So that method means that please open the pop-up with a Google authentication. And whether it's enabled, we will show you pop-up and everything will work. This method returns promise. And if everything's cool and user signed in, we need to redirect it to the another page, in our case, to the to-dos page. Like we're, first of all, let's import router here. Router, cool. We're going navigate by URL, go to the to-do list. Okay, let's check how this works. So I'm returning to my application, let me reload it, I'm pressing sign in with Google, and boom, you see the new pop-up that's trying to authenticate us with Google. I have a few accounts, I'm pressing for this one, and yeah, I became redirected to the page with to-do list. But the question now is how to understand whether I'm redirected here, whether I was logged in or not. Let's show the user on the screen somehow, like an avatar, email, maybe my full name and so on. So I'm going to the to-do component, to-dos component back. And as you can see here I have a user stream. This is empty right now, but I can have a few lines of code in my template which were commented. So here I have a pretty simple interface. I have a user components that know how to display the user in a beautiful form and a logout button that's not actually implemented right now, but let's try to use it. So let's return back to the component and try to inject again fauth, like Angular Fireauth service. And now we need to retrieve the user from it, the user object. So it returns a string of user or null if user isn't registered yet. So if user isn't authorized, it will return you an instance of the user with tons of useful fields like photo, full name, email, and others. If user isn't logged in, then it will return us null. So let's check it here, and boom, now here I have my object, my avatar, my email and password and full name, and also here I have a logout button that does nothing for now. Let's see how we can perform a logout. Okay, so here I have an empty logout method, and here we're doing almost the same stuff as we did for logout, but instead of sign in with pop-up, we are just calling a sign out function. Again, it returns promise, and when logout is done and everything is cool, we need to redirect our user to the login page, as it works in most of applications. So let's check it out. How does it work? So I'm logged in. Here's my avatar, and I'm pressing logout, and I become logged out, and I became the login page. But here we have a pretty weird behavior, since right now I can access that page directly with to-dos, and nothing is shown here because my user isn't logged in. How we can solve this behavior? How we can solve that problem? In our Angular world, we are using, oh, pardon me. Here we go. In our world, we are using the concept called guards. Okay, so Angular Firestore provides us with a few cool guards that allows us easily configure where to redirect user in different states, whether it's logged in or not logged in or whatever. So let me show you how does it work. So we are adding a data. Oh, pardon me, data, it's not time for data. First of all, we are adding an Angular Fireauth guard here. So our to-do component will be guarded. So this Angular Fireauth guard will be called before activating the to-do component, just to check whether we can activate it or not. So we are just added that guard, but we need to configure it. So we need to let him understand when we need to do and what. Okay, so it does with helper functions in the Angular Fire. So we can call redirect unauthorized user to login. So in case of when the user isn't authorized, this guard will check that and redirect it on the login page. We are doing exactly the same stuff for the login page to prevent trying to log in multiple times the user. So we are checking that the user is already logged in, and then if it's logged in, we are redirecting it the main page to the to-do list. So let's check how does it work. So first of all, it's a login page. If I'm trying to access to the list, I can't do that. Well, I will be redirected to the login page. So let's try to log in here. When I've logged in, I became redirected to the list page, as you remember. But in that case, I can't access login page anyway. Okay, you see how this works. Yeah, so I bet it's pretty easy, but it's really powerful because we just implemented authentication for our application in a few lines of code and maybe in 5 minutes. I bet it's pretty cool. But we still have a problem here, one big problem for our application, since all the to-do items in this list are common. They are not related to any user. They are common for everyone, so any other user can log in with his own account and modify your common to-do items. That's pretty weird, so let's fix it. Let's try to make to-do items some bodies. So how we can make it? The easiest way I can see here, just to add in the to-do item object reference and user ID, so we will be able to understand who these items. So first of all, let's listen for a user here. I'll just take one just to save the time. And when we're trying to add a message, we'll first of all get in the user. Okay, and when the user arrives, we're adding user ID in. So right now, as we can see here, let me open the Firebase back. Okay, pretty slow, but if I'm adding to-do item here, boom, it's become added, and now you can see that it has a user ID. Okay, so this user ID is exactly the same user ID you can see here. So I've just linked two entities. I've linked a user and a document in the Cloud Firestore. So the next point here is to retrieve only elements that are users, that are not common, not for everyone. So we need to rewrite this code that retrieved items a bit. So first of all, we'll get a user here as we did before. Then I'll insert a switch map. We are getting a user here. Okay, it's a user or null. So we have a user, and we need to return the stream of items that's related to the user. But first of all, we are checking that the user exists. If no users here, we are just returning, let's return empty stream, so nothing returned from the stream, it's empty. If the user exists, then we're doing almost exactly the same we did before. We are referencing to the Firestore collection and to the to-do collection. But in that case, we are adding a bit more details here, since we are adding a query function that allows us to query exactly query required items of the stream, not all items of the collection, but some of them. So here's a query function that gets a reference to the collection, and we can say that just get out all the items that match the where criteria, like all the items where user ID, okay, equals the user ID, and boom, equals to the user ID. Oh, there's one here. I hope it didn't matter. No, I've messed up my demo somehow. Invalid object where string was expected. Okay, pardon me. So we are referencing to the collection with this query function, but also we need to receive snapshot changes for the purpose. let's share. Yep. So here we have two to-do items with the ID equals to my current user ID. So it's like a to-do item and the first to-do item with this user ID. So I can enter one more to-do item and it will be available only for this current user and for nobody else. Okay. So this is pretty simple, I bet. And I hope you like this approach. And how easy is that? So right now, as you can see, we almost built our application. It works. We can log in, log out. You add more users. Users can use it. Everything's fine. But the last point here is on how to deploy it. We need to deploy it to make it available for people across the web. So let's return to my presentation on how to deploy to Firebase. Is the last point here. So first of all, we are the install Firebase tools. It's a Firebase CLI that allows you connect Firebase application somewhere in the cloud with your current code base. Okay. Then you're going to do Firebase login and Firebase init. Firebase login will log in you as a Firebase user, and Firebase init will exactly connect your Firebase application in the cloud with your current code base. And finally, we had a check that our Angular JSON configuration file has Angular Fire Deploy Builder. So Angular Fire Deploy Builder ought to be added to your application when you installed Angular Fire at the start of the project, as you remember. And this builder allows you deploying your Angular application onto the Firebase, just one single command. Let's take a look on how does it work. So here's my code. So here's an application we just built, and I can just run and deploy, and nothing more is here. Now we had to wait a few seconds while it will build it, and then it will deploy it. During the process, I can say that Angular deploy is a pretty powerful command that allows us to write custom builders that deploy users' applications somewhere. So there are, okay. That doesn't work. Let me check what's wrong here. 23 something. Okay, I bet we added a type here. Yeah. Cool. So ng-deploy allows you to deploy any kind of application. If you have an appropriate builder, you can deploy your application to the Netlify, to Azure, to Firebase, or whatever. You can write whatever you want, whatever you need. So it's really powerful concept that allows you to deliver your application in just one command line. Okay. Now it's doing its deployment process. Now it's building it. Here's my application. And do you have this tertiary plugin optimizations that always lasts more than other parts of the build process? I don't think it's very cool, but yeah. Okay, now we have a dist, so we built our application, and it starts the deployment process, and the application becomes deployed in a few seconds. Boom! Yeah. It lives on the Firebase. Here is my URL where my application just had been deployed. So I can open, I've copied it. I can open it, for instance, right here. Yep, it works. I've already logged in here because I've already built this application. So, and here you see exactly the same picture as it was on the local. And I can add a few more items here, okay? And it will be synchronized to the real time with items on my local machine. Yeah, even to do on any other changes. Is a real time, everything is simple, even the deployment of the application. Okay, now I had a slide about ng-deploy. And frankly speaking, that's it. I just want to make a very small wrap up. So what we learned today. Okay, we learned what is Firebase, we tried it, we tasted. So we created an Angular application with a Firebase, we integrated Angular Firebase Cloud Firestore in it, so we manipulated it with data, we integrated Google authentication in our application. and we even deploy this application on the web, and all this stuff in 30 minutes. Okay, I bet it's cool. So finally, here are a few resources. Again, my Twitter, please follow me. And so what's the most important here is my GitHub with the repository that contains a code for this to-do app. So if you want to experiment, you can start from this repository with Firebase already configured, everything installed, and everything works fine. So thank you. Now, Abaz, it's time for questions.
Hi, Nick.
Yeah, again.
Thank you for the session. Let's as we wait and see if people are going to ask questions. And someone also asking, um, like if I have like basic knowledge of React, can I quickly am I able to like learn Angular?
So like learning Angular is not so very hard, even if, especially if you have any other experience, so it will not be hard for you. But you just need to know that Angular has a pretty big like entry level, so you need to spend maybe a few months while you'll be easily understand everything what's going on inside. Okay, so it's not that easy as to learn as Angular. Oh, pardon me, Angular is not that easy to learn as React, but it's worth it. And just start, just try to make something you'll like it.
Yeah, but most of the time I've heard like people say that sometimes Angular has like a very steep learning curve. Is that true, or what do you have to say about that?
No, yeah, exactly. That's true. Just because. Okay, let me formulate it. So like React, for instance, if compared to Angular, React is just a view framework. Like the way is a view library, so it's a way to render your views on the screen. While Angular is a whole ecosystem. It allows you build your application from the start to the end, using, especially building within some like business logic, bundling everything with the CLIs and so on. So Angular team does lots of work, and you need to just learn multiple concepts, multiple tools, and everything is called Angular. So it's just more to learn, I would say. That's not really harder. It's just really you need to learn more, and that's it.
Yeah, okay. And on that note, could you maybe share with us your whole experience being a GD in Angular? Like maybe if I'm starting out, like what do I need to actually do to get there to that level of being a GD in Angular for the people who are starting out in Angular or people who are already doing Angular?
Oh, okay. So it's a pretty interesting question since to become a GD, you have no exact path, so you have no exact requirements for you because it's not like this is just an award, you can say. Yeah, so you can't be sure that you'll become a GD just because you want to do that. You just need to do some activities, for instance, speaking, creating content, doing open source, holding meetups, and so on. So you need to create free activities that help and Google to spread the knowledge about Angular across the world. So you need to help people learn Angular and so on. And sometimes you might be spotted, and Google will say, "Okay, guy, now you're a GD," or something like that.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. So for the people who want to be GDEs in Angular, people like Wayne, you've had, you just need to put more content about Angular,
Yeah,
and share with the
yeah,
community.
just share your knowledge with the community, and you will be definitely spotted, and you'll become a GD.
Yeah, there's another question. Is Firestore entirely free? Can you use it in production without having to worry about charges?
Uh, I wouldn't say yes because it's free for a small lots, and if you need to make a high lot, so you ought to pay. Since any other application nowadays, it has different plans, different prices, so you'll be able to buy a subscription.
Okay.
If it's a very small and simple application, it will be enough to use a free plan in the production. It might be, but in general, you'll have to buy a subscription.
Okay, Wayne, what do you have any questions for Nick? Or like I know you're really passionate about Angular and you've really been in this thing for quite some time. So I don't know, maybe you'd like to share something with Nick or ask him something.
Um, well, I think Nick has actually covered everything that there's there to know about Angular and Firebase. Of course, it might not be as easy as you might think, because Angular really requires you to be always there, constantly learning. There's something I usually say when, as a software engineer, as a developer, you have a commitment to continuous learning. So every single time you learn, you learn, you learn. Personally, I wouldn't even say I'm an expert at Angular. Like every single day, I learn something new. I learn about observables. I learn about components and all. So it's pretty interesting. So if you're definitely interested in Angular, definitely go for it. And people out here are they're very kind in terms of like helping you out in starting out with your journey in Angular, Firebase. As Nick here is an Angular GDE, is also very well conversant with Firebase. He can definitely show you tips and tricks here and there on how to leverage on them. I personally love using Angular and Firebase because there's that feeling of like you have data entering instantly, you read it instantly, you delete it. It just shows everything instantly. Like for me, that's amazing, and I've loved using it for quite some time now. So yeah, I think Nick has actually covered everything. Yeah. So I don't know if
Yeah.
anyone
Okay.
else has
And
any questions.
Yeah, and that reminds me, like, if you have any interest, if you want to continue into this Angular journey, you can check out Angular on Twitter. You can also check out Angular Kenya community, where Wayne is actually the lead. So yeah, you can get to see there's so many talks, and I hope Wayne you'll actually host Nick in one of the sessions on Angular Kenya, right? When he
Oh
applies to
yes,
speak.
definitely. I'll even
Yeah.
send him out the link to apply. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
Yeah, cool.
definitely.
yeah, that would be
I'll
pretty.
contact you
That would be,
later after this the fest. I have a lot topics to talk about.
yeah,
Awesome.
that
I'll
that is.
definitely reach out to you.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
I think we have no more questions. Yeah, but yeah, if you have
Okay,
any questions, you can
I
always
bet
reach
I
out to
was
me.
pretty
Yeah,
explicit, so everything was covered. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
yeah. So, but if you have any more questions, you can ask them. You can direct them to Nick on Twitter. I think
Yeah.
when you
Oh,
can
oh,
share his
pardon.
Twitter handle.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, for just I hope you'll share it, but I
Uh,
can say send it by myself. So again, I'll send it into the comments. Or could you please send
yeah,
it into the comments? I'll send it with my credit card. So if you have any questions regarding Angular, Firebase, web development, don't hesitate. Just DM me on the Twitter. I'm always ready to help you.
yeah. Okay, thank you so much, Nick, for sparing time to teach us on Angular. Yeah, this
Uh,
this was amazing,
Thank you for
and yeah.
having me.
Yeah, we're looking forward to having you one more time, maybe in
Okay,
future, yeah?
maybe next year. Yeah.
Yeah, or even in person when you come to Kenya, the
Yeah,
first
I
Kenya next
hope I
year.
want to visit Kenya, especially in person, because this year we are just sitting at home, so it's terrible.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah, I
so
saw your background. Your background is the first Kenya. Interesting.
yep,
Yeah,
I've prepared.
that's yeah, that's lovely. That's lovely. Yeah, you can share with us on Twitter so we can, retweet
I've
your
already
tweet.
did it before the talk.
Really? Okay, let me just go
Yeah,
and check out and I'll retweet.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
So thank you again. Then bye.
Bye. Oh yeah, that reminds me. Thank you so much for joining in the session. And yeah, because having wrapped up on that Angular session, and it's already lunchtime, some of us are really, really hungry. But I really want to believe that you've learned some things. And yeah, if you have any more questions, like you mentioned, you can check out on Angular. You have Angular on Twitter, Angular Kenya, the global Angular community. You can always reach out to Wayne for any questions you have on Angular. So yeah, I think we are going now to break out for lunch. Yeah, and then we'll be back here for another session. So just don't leave. Okay, you can leave your YouTube open, then go grab your lunch. Yeah, we can actually go ahead and have fun on Discord. I hear things are kind of sweet and hot there with some music and some partying over there. So I don't know if you guys have the link to Discord. Oh yeah. Yeah. If you have the link, like just someone should comment and tell me, do you have the link to the Discord channel? Is it Discord channel, Discord server? Aye. These things, some of us don't really know. Ah, okay. No one is telling me. I want to assume that everyone is there. Yeah. Where are we grabbing lunch? I'm working on that, so just be patient. You just get a knock at your door and you'll have someone bringing the lunch over to you. If you register, that is, if you register, we have your details there, and so we'll have things delivered to you. So look forward to the lunch. Yeah, the link to the Discord. When do you have the link to the Discord channel? Like, I really don't have it on my hand right now.
Yeah, I shared the link on the chat. So if you can just check out the chat, it has the Discord link.
Sure, like
Um,
YouTube chat or.
yeah, the YouTube chat. Yes, yes.
Hmm?
I'll just share it once again, just
Yeah,
for everyone.
please do. Yeah, please do.
So please join in the conversation. You can join the general channel. You can join in the fun. I think it's the just for fun channel. Yeah, people are just playing music over there. So if you're
Yeah,
interested, please just head out over there, and I hope you will really enjoy yourself as we play this game.
yeah, but don't
So
forget,
yeah, sorry.
don't forget to tweet. Don't forget to tweet about your experience, what you've learned. If you learned something new, using hashtag DevFest Kenya, hashtag DevFest. And when people are complaining, please send the link to them.
Okay,
Have you
sending
or
it
have
right
you not?
now.
Okay. I also don't have the
Send it,
link.
but let me do it
Let
again.
me- Do you guys have good music there? Before I know if I'm going to join or not.
People are lining up their own playlist, so I don't know. So when people get there, like probably like just do some I don't know, request or
like
something.
so I request a song and they'll play it.
Yeah, that's what I've been seeing. Or you can also even line it up for yourself if you want to.
Man, I really don't know how this whole thing works, but it reminds me of, I think it's Kiss. Is it Kiss FM where you request music and then they play it for you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So you have to request for song and all. But then this one you can just line it up for yourself.
Oh,
We'll just get there and see what we can do. We probably can just clear everything and then have everyone like have song or something. Or we can have just one DJ because sometimes many DJs wouldn't make it that much fun. So just like having one DJ that has all the requests lined up should be great. Yeah.
okay. You've had it from
Yeah.
Wayne. So let's head over to Discord. I think it's good to enjoy music while you eat. Then we'll be back here for the next, I think it's 2 p.m.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 p.m. We'll be back here for the next session of the day. Probably the last
Yep.
session.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll be having another GDE
Yeah.
speaking. Yeah. So don't leave. Don't leave. Just stay where you are. You can only leave and go to Discord and eat, but then just stay where you are. See you at 2 p.m.
Yeah. See you guys.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome back to Death the Series. And this is the web track. And yeah, we hope you had an amazing lunch hour and also had fun on the Discord channel. And yeah, as I said, we are back on web, and we are going to have a Google developer expert in Angular again, taking us through Angular modules. And that person will be Wilson. And Wilson is a Google developer expert in Angular and web technologies. He's also a Microsoft MVP in developer technologies and an international speaker. He's passionate about open source contributions and is active in the communities around Angular, JavaScript, HTML, CSS3, workflow, web performance, security, and Internet of Things. And like I said, he's going to be taking us through Angular modules. So I hope you're going to enjoy the session. Yeah, so let's start. Welcome, Wilson.
Hey Tavi, how are
Hi.
you? Greetings from Dawanda.
Pardon? Pardon?
Greetings from Dawanda. Dawanda is Australia. It's just a slang.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
we're glad.
here's like 10 p.m. So it's a great day, right? I can say that would be amazing.
Yeah, it's like it's 2 p.m. here. We just had our lunch.
So yeah, how's it going, everyone? All good?
All good.
So yeah, let me.
Let me add your screen.
Yeah. I already shared mine, and yeah, here we go. Uh, First things first. Thanks for the invite. I really appreciate that. I hope you guys enjoying. And hi everyone. Again, my name is Russell Mendes. Currently, I'm living in Australia, in Sydney, Australia, but I'm originally from Brazil. So you probably get some accents and stuff like that. But yeah, that's me. And yeah, today we'll be talking about something really cool. So talk about Angular modules and let's have NG fun. What's the purpose of that? Show for everyone that like, okay, now we have Angular and we have a lot of proper solutions for enterprise and media applications. But what about small or even something like if you wanted to experiment or you wanted to create something new, but doesn't need to be that big, but can be useful? How can you do that? So yeah, I'm Google Developer Expert in Web Technologies, Microsoft MVP and Developer Technologies, and I do a bunch of other stuff as well. So yeah, let's start. Let's get excited. So that's the day. Uh, yeah, that's me. This great person, it's me. I'm currently doing a lot of stuff, as I mentioned before. And one of the things I'm doing is this Code Quick Tips. I'm just publishing videos on my YouTube channel every week, sharing some tips and tricks for what about web development. Can be front end, back end, database, Docker, or anything that can be useful and helpful for you. So yeah, just check it out. And yeah, webs are evolving. That's a long journey that we are facing for like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 10 years ago, if you're that old like me. And yeah, we saw things like Backbone coming and Backbone just getting deprecated, or even AngularJS that became a thing and now is getting deprecated in order to move our apps to Angular and for a better and evolved application for front-end apps, right? And we should be evolving as well. We just got realized that during those years, shared components is so much love. So you can reuse components, add them in your application, reuse across multiple applications, multiple pages, or just have fun with them. So that's a good approach. That's a good way to go. And we are doing this a lot on the web. As an example, we can go here in this page and you can see that we have three different components. A page, which is composed by three components: items, about, and gallery. So for items, which is this green one, we have this piece. For about, we have this red block, and gallery will be rendered in this yellow block, right? So pretty straightforward. And at the end, we know that a page is a composition of components. And if you wanted to use to talk to see more stuff, now we have Angular, and Angular has a CLI, so it's Angular just became a platform and has all the tool sets for you to don't focus on things about build and test and those kind of things. They already solved that for you, and focus really on the code. So you can just go to Angular CLI and create your application. So you don't need to check that. Or even lint publish. How can I publish my package? How can I publish my application? Uh, and all those tasks are already covered via Angular CLI. The way to use is quite straightforward. So you can go and install that globally, or just use npx if you like, and run mg new my app, or my app will be the name of your application that will be created. And after that, just go inside the folder that you created and run ng serve. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? Okay, now we know that's easy, the setup, and how easy the setup, how easy the introduction for Angular. But talking about big applications and enterprise applications or even media applications, you need to think about things like styling and user experience. And for those ones, you can use a design system. That can be atomic design, for example, at the top, or even material design. Or if you don't want those two, we have several options to cover that for you. You can have birth clarity, just in case those are open source and they have some, and some of them have some support. If you pay, it's not a little for the company, but it's totally up to you. You can check those. A lot of them are open source. Depends on the project. So you have birth clarity, you have Candle UI, Carbo components, Angular UI toolkit, Onset UI, and Prime NG. So quite a few, right? And we have even more options. But let's start with the first question. Why would you use all of that? Sometimes you don't need all of that. What if the app doesn't need all of that? That's the first question you need to think. Design system became a powerful tool set of components, but also your application sometimes doesn't need all of that. Thinking in the structure of page, right? As we mentioned before, a page is a composition of components that we can see as a block. So you have a lot of blocks inside the box, and those blocks inside the box are components using the page. So we are focusing a lot on the page, and we forgot that also the piece that we have inside the page is important. So let's change a little bit our focus, and let's see how we can focus on the components that can be reused across multiple pages and how we can create those. Uh, okay, we have the idea that everything is a component. The good benefits of the components is that now we have small scope. So you don't need to cover everything that you have in the page. You can cover only what the logic for your header, the logic for your main content, and the logic for your footer, for example. If you're working in e-commerce, you can have even a component for your basket or for your shopping cart. So with that, you have boundaries. You know what the component should know, and more than this, you know what the component shouldn't know. Really true. And all the components are plug and play. And when I'm saying plug and play, I don't mean something that's easy to use. I really something that's I don't even need to know. I need something like this, like should be. Plug and play shouldn't be something that take too long for you to know, or neither you need to know the internals of the component. If you need to read the internal code for that component, that means that component is missing something, or perhaps a documentation, perhaps a way, a usage, or even a feature sometimes. And why small packages with that? The way that we use components in Angular and we make them shareable is by creating Angular modules and publishing them. So with that, modules and packages, in that case, we are talking about the same thing during this talk. Integration in a module, that can be really easy. It doesn't matter to import your module and add them in your application. They are also easy to maintain because you don't need to run all your application to apply a change that's more modular. And you should refactor, should be really easy to refactor that, even across teams or even between, if you're doing a hackathon, if you work in a massive company, that should be easy. Okay, let's start the fun. Uh, with the first idea, okay, let's start a project, right? We don't need to create a main project. For that, we'll be creating small packages and we can learn with those. Really experiment, doing some experimentations, check some ideas, or you can go nuts in that moment. Really go nuts, thinking, hey, maybe we don't have this yet, so I can create a package, a module for that. We don't have a feature uh, XUI in Angular, but I can create that module and I can share that, or it can solve my problem. Yeah, let's think the first idea. The first one that I wrote was one called Nginx page click. And this component it does what it needs to do. It goes to your page, and in your page, when you click inside an event, an element who has a click, for example, it blocks. So why we have that? First, sometimes you need to control the bubbling events. So that's our scenario. Sometimes you're in a model and you click that, and for some reason it's bubbling in, bubbling out, or just you just want to lock the events to be rendered across your application. And also, a few things that we need to keep in mind at the moment was like, should be the API should be declarative. Let's talk about components. So it's just a matter of add a component, add as a wrapper, pass some attributes, and that's all. The idea of components is, by definition, they should be a black box. You should know about the input they need to give, and you should know the output they need to give. Nothing that happens in internals, you should read. Like I mentioned before, you don't need to read the API or the code they have there, unless you wanted to contribute, which I totally encourage you in that case, or you need to really know more. But by definition, for users, if you wanted to use that to integrate that in your application, you don't need to know that. Should be easy to integrate. Should be a small package. We usually don't talk that too much, but bundle size matters a bunch. If you have a package which is quite small and you have another package which does the same thing and even smaller, you probably go for the second option. If you think in points like performance or even user experience, like performance user experience right now are the same thing. If you have a page slow, that means that the experience for users are being degraded and you need to work on that. So yeah, that's the way to integrate. First, you have to import your module. In that case, it's called Nginx page click module for the package. After that, you go to your module and import that. That's the way that you can integrate that. And at the end, when you go to your page, you add this piece of HTML as a wrapper. So this disable here, just an attribute that can pass as true or false. Outside click handler is just a function that you pass that will be executed when you click something, and the event they'll need to listen to. Can be a click, can be a mouse over, or something like that. In that case, we just turn it on, and that's all. And when you go to the page, you have this fantastic experience, which is not a big deal, but it's something. And you are triggering that. So you can click to enable, you can click to disable. Think that this doesn't need to necessarily be a click of the button, can be your page being controlled, or you can use that for something like control events in your form, or control a switch when you have a form with a lot of steps. You have a wizard, for example, you can control that, and you need to install a massive package for it. Right. We had the first idea, quite small, and you can share that, you can get some feedback. And let's keep thinking, what else can you have? Let's think another idea. Another idea that we can have, for example, let's integrate feature toggles in Angular. There are different ways, several ways to integrate that. However, you need to write a lot of code to add them. You need to create a service sometimes. Perhaps you need to create a router guard or do something manually to do that. What if we just abstract that and create a module as well? That's the intention of Nginx feature toggle. So first, you can configure a feature by really easy. Feature toggles are just a way to control the feature turning on and turning off in production. So that means I create a code, and when you deploy that to production, you can deploy them with the feature turned off, so that won't be working. And when you're confident, perhaps you need to wait for the API to be deployed and aligned with that as well. You can turn on, or even if you have some issues in production, they need to do a rollback straight away. You can just turn off, do a rollback, and work on that. The benefit of that is that you can avoid a lot of deployments, and you can also avoid issues in production just by a click, turning on and turning off the features. As I mentioned, you can have that routing guards integrate on that. Again, can be a component, can be a directive, and also can be a routing guard. So you have all those different approaches to be integrated in your application. It's really easy to integrate with third parties. Usually, if you're not working in a big company, you'll be using a third party for feature flags, like Launch Darkly, for example. So you have an SDK, which you'll be adding in your page, and that will be integrated by a key, a token that you add to say that it's your application, and you can just pass that for Nginx feature toggle. So you don't need to create any extra code in your site, just apply a few configurations, and that's all. Also, it works for client side and server side as well. So if you work in application using Angular Universal, for example, it's already ready for usage. So the way that you go is first, again, you go and import the module for Nginx feature toggle. That case is called feature toggle module. Import that in your application and use, right? And in your app, you have, let's say that in your controller, you have this attribute features, which has it's an object with enable description as true. And you create a component called feature toggle provider. It's already available as soon as you import the module and add that in your app, and pass the features as your object. So there will be a list of the features who are turned on and turned off. This can be a value that you get from the API, or for example, for a third party. And if something changes, the component will be updated as well. And in your component, for example, in your div, you can use the directive feature toggle, saying that that will be visible if enable description is false. You can check this false because you have this exclamation mark at the front as a prefix. If you don't have the exclamation mark, that means that should be true. And yeah, in that case, for this scenario, the first condition will be true, so the first piece of code will be displayed. Also, you can use that as a routing guard, so you can import Nginx feature toggle can load guard, and add in your route and add can load. You can pass the load guard and pass data as an object with feature toggle and an array of feature toggles that need to be checked. Let's see an example of this. So if we go here, let me just increase a little so it can be easy for us to have a look. If we go here, we have an example. All those packages have demos, so it's quite easy to use. They are all in the Stack Blitz, which is an editor, online editor. So just a matter of come here and play with that. So you don't even need to install everything. You can just check it out, see if it works for you, and integrate in your application. Let's see how it works. For example, let's turn on all the features. So we put true, and we can say conditions true and feature toggle is enabled. And when we click on false, exclamation mark prefix passed on feature toggle directive attribute. So the condition is false, but since you have the exclamation mark as a prefix, should be displayed. So you can switch that between configurations. Quite neat, right? So back to the talk. We can see, okay, but this is simple, Will. So let's build something really cool. Okay, let's think some ideas, like small ideas that we don't usually don't have that covered in a proper way. Yeah. So the challenge is on. Let's think about it. What we can do. A real scenario that we have in a lot of progressive web apps is the skeleton. And even big applications, large applications like YouTube, for example, they have skeletons. Skeleton is an approach that can show for the users that something is loading. So you can play with the user perception performance by displaying there that something is loading, the place that will be loading, and that something happened in the background. So the user have the perception that, okay, the page is loading, something's going on, it's not slow. That can be for any reasons. For example, for YouTube, they have a skeleton as a main, as a whole page, as you can see in the screenshot. So by coming here, you see the Steve home page skeleton as for the whole YouTube page. Quite interesting, right? So that's a real scenario. That's a real requirement. Let's think how we can implement that. With that, I create another one called Nginx skeleton loader. Okay, the same approach, the same idea. Let's think how we can use that in a better way and add more stuff. Why we need that? Okay, skeleton is definitely something that improves the user experience. Also, we need to think all the points that other competitors or other packages are not covering. For example, how we can work with skeletons and web accessibility. Accessibility is not something that is optional, it's mandatory and should be. The web should be accessible for everyone. How we can make animations, CSS animations, for example, and make them faster and performatic, respecting some rules like FPS in 60, for example. And more than this, you have a skeleton, but that needs to be flexible. So need to be able to create themes to use in different applications. How can you do that? The integration is the same. So you have Nginx skeleton loader module that you can export. You also can import that in your application and keep using. In your page, you already have the Nginx skeleton load component available. So you can say, okay, I need 5 loaders, 5 skeletons, and I can pass even a theme like I'm having here. So you can pass a theme, which will be a JSON object with CSS, the attribute and the value. And at the end, you have your skeleton up and running. So you can have, for example, that's the page simulating a user information loading. So you have the state of loading, and you have the state of the component already loaded. Quite straightforward. But okay, Will, you mentioned that you need to add things like accessibility. How come can you add accessibility in a skeleton? Okay, let's see. We have different ways to improve the web accessibility for your page. One of them is by using web area attributes. As you can see in the screenshot, when you render the skeleton, you can add attributes like area busy, which shows for the browser, says to the browser that something's happening and this is a place that's loading something, and that also shares the same information for screen readers, which is quite useful if you have some disability. Also, you can add the text saying that's loading, so it can help your users, uh, and saying that Zero is a progress bar. But when you add progress bar, even though saying that's a skeleton, the progress bar will share with the screen reader that something is loading. Tab index 0, so the users won't be able to move for the skeleton by clicking tab, and other web area attributes that you can use. You can use that for skeletons, so that was a good learning. First, you can improve the accessibility for anything in at web by using web areas. So you can not only use that just for the skeleton, but you can use that for any component that you like. So you can have all this, and you can combine states and accessibility. A11Y is accessibility acronym. And you don't need to do anything if you're using skeleton. It's already available in the package. Also, another thing that you can use is control the animation. Why? For some users with disabilities, they don't want to have animations on their browser. And they can just turn on that on their operational systems by clicking reduce motion. And just with CSS, you can use a CSS media query called prefers reduce motion and remove that if the option reduce is turned on. So when the user opens the accessibility panel and click reduce motion, the skeleton won't be using any animation. That's really important because you give the power back to your users. So that's something that's not optional or even a paper cut. That's something that should be, by definition, available for your users. And yeah, other point, what about dark mode, right? So since you have skeletons, you probably can solve that with a theme, right? So I need to write everything for it? Not really. So don't need to. Bypassing, for example, we have a lot of different animations. You have the avatar one, you have the progress, and you have the progress dark in case you want to have that using dark mode. So you can have dark mode just by changing a new attribute. Animation now will be progress dark, and that's all you need to do, and all you need to know. Okay, you can have improvements for web accessibility, and you can also remove the animation. You have better animations for your application, but okay, what if I need themes, like create a new theme? I just need to use one. I don't need to add an object, a mass JavaScript, and pass that through. What can I do? Okay, the component gives you two different ways. One is just using theme and passing via at input. So it's a attribute that your component will get, and it get all the JSON information. So you have CSS here, and it will be rendered. And also good to mention that this value is immutable, so it won't be rendering your page every time if you don't change the theme. But you can also use CSS. There's a documentation for it in Angular. So as soon as you have the host, so you can write like host, and inside the host you have nginx skeleton loader, and inside the nginx skeleton loader have loader. With that, you also need to make sure that loader won't change, so we are not having any break changes, which is another concern that we need to have when you're using a package. If I bump something that's not a major bump, it shouldn't break your component. So I have a lot of plays with that. And that's the same configuration as the previous one. That's mind blowing, right? With a small package, you had a lot of learnings. So with those packages, we learned how to avoid bubbling with Angular. We learn how to make better configurations and integrate third parties. And we also learn a lot about web accessibility, animations performance, CSS animations performance as well, and how to make your code configurable and easy. So yeah, a quick recap. First, the intention of all this is have fun. As soon as you have fun, you learn a lot in the process. So the intention is not just dominate the whole world or create something that's a massive and used for everyone. Try to solve a problem that's a real problem and enjoy the process. All the rest is just up to the future. Start small and start with small components as well. So you don't need to add a lot of components to create a massive design system if you don't have to. Or even if that design system doesn't have the component that you created, the module that you created, it should be easy to integrate. Make a plan. Keep working that. As soon as you have something, you want to learn with something, you want to play with something, you need to think, okay, you don't need to have a massive plan, but you need to start with some ideas and keep iterating, keep iterating. Done, that case, that's a phrase that done is better than none. Also, the web platform is in your favor. You're using Angular or you can be using React or you can use Vue, but think that web platform is totally powerful. It can be used in any of those frameworks and libraries. Use that in your favor. Last but not least, sharing is caring. Uh, if you like that, if you think that can be used for someone, just share that. Just make sure that if you can add the license and open license like MIT, for example. Open source software is more than help your community. It's a political act. If you want to know more about the journey for example, the Nginx skeleton loader, I just wrote this post. The link is that's the link, and it shares all the journey, all the benefits, all the features, and the reasons why I make those decisions. But the main point of this is do something, write something, have fun. And yeah, that's the end of my talk. I hope everyone enjoyed as much as I am. And thank you very much. And I just want to say one more time, thank for the conference to having me. I really appreciate that. And I know that will be a massive and amazing day for you folks because I already lived your day.
Oh yeah, like you're ahead of us in terms of time.
Yeah. Here's 10:30.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. And thank you so much for for taking time. Like it's 10 p.m. like you mentioned, and for sharing with us the NG fun, if I could say. Yeah, and I just love the way you throw in phrases here and there. Like there's this one I almost finished with. Dan is okay. Dan, I don't I've forgotten, but it was interesting. I also remember the lemon one, squeezy. I've forgotten them, but I know they're quite interesting. Yeah, yeah. Someone is saying that was a quality talk. I mean, that is amazing.
I
You
really
want
appreciate it.
something. Yeah. So let me see if there are questions. Do you have questions from the audience?
Or if you have any jokes, I really love to hear jokes.
Joke. Okay, Jocks. If you think you're a funny person, this is your time to shine. Comment your jokes so that we can see them. Yeah. So this was really interesting. Thank you so much. What's your Twitter handle again? Because maybe if someone wants to ask you a question afterward, or someone wants to
Sure,
link up with
absolutely.
you.
So
Yeah.
my user in LinkedIn, GitHub, Facebook, Twitter is at Wilmadsnito. So if you
At
have
will.
that, you can find me anywhere.
At will. I was also looking for you. At will. Okay. Let me. I don't know. I cannot see it quite clearly. Oh yeah, will. Okay. Okay, awesome. Awesome. Let me try and I'll add it on the comments. Someone is asking, when does one think of architecture in building the Angular app?
All right. So when you do that and you add in your application, I have few applications which are using that. It's more a matter of it's like a matter of first, if you're working in a big company, like I had experience to work with big companies, and they usually have a lot of things that have the business logic, so they can share. But as soon as you have the open source mindset, you think that you don't need to have everything in the same spot. So with that, you not only add the business logic for your company, but you can also reuse that across even internal applications. As soon as you have some ideas and you think that can be useful, just up to use, just up to create, and totally up to you. So as soon as you have a crazy idea and some time, you can create that. And to add an application can be the application that you're working, or someone else can find that useful, like was my case. Few of those, all those packages that I share here, they're using in enterprise applications and other applications as well. The only way to, at the end, the only way to go is just by doing.
The only way to go is just by doing. Okay, I will remember that. Yeah, so I know to then as we wait and see this email question, like maybe could you like share your journey into becoming a Google developer expert? Like how is it like and how are you able to get there?
Yeah, yeah. That was a great experience. I just became Google Developer Expert 6 years ago.
Oh,
So, and I was in Brazil, helping the community. I was living in a really really far hometown for the CBD, so it was that we had some lack of internet and those kind of stuff. So I was trying to help my community by organize some events and also try to translate a few things that we have there, documentation and this kind of stuff. And I started to do some talks about it. So I wrote some organized some workshops, start to give some talks about different topics, web platform, and someone just had an invite for me, a recommendation for me to become a GDE. And there's a lot of steps, like they check the technical skills, the community skills as well. Like shouldn't be something that is totally technical but doesn't have the community skill sets. Like you need to have something that you keen to share, you keen to help other companies, other teams, other people. Like you need to have this idea. And at the end, I got a call for someone for the Angular team, and the rest is just history. So at the end, one thing that one of the GDEs shared that I really like, there's a good phrase that GDE is a nomination, but you don't need to do anything in special to become a GDE because you're already doing.
okay, okay. Like you. There's nothing special about it. You just
No, I
continue
mean,
doing what you're doing.
like if you wanted to become a GDE, you don't need to, okay, now I need to become a GDE in 6 months. So I need to do this, that. No,
Yeah.
you're doing because you have in your heart that you want to help other people, you want to share. And the rest just became like you can get GDE, you can have something, you can even without all this nomination, you can have something that's really more valuable for your community as well. So it really depends. As far as you're
Yeah.
doing something good, that's what matters.
Yeah. So yeah, guys, you had like keep doing what you're doing. If you're learning, go and share, go into communities, give talks in local communities and local meetups, and you never know, you might get recommended like what happened to Wilson. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
your
yeah.
scenario.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know, like as we close up, like, I don't think there are any questions yet. So like what last thing would you like to tell us? Like a parting shot?
Ah,
Yeah, I know
more
you're a
like
wise person. You're a wise person.
believe in your dreams. No, but really, I think that the whole thing's a journey in just independent of the way that you want to go and what's your achievement, just try to have fun with that. So as soon as you have fun and you're doing something you like, the rest is rest, you know.
Okay. Have fun and do what you like.
I have fun with a bunch of things. Uh, I really like open source, and also I like playing as well. So yeah, different stuff.
Oh yeah, like I also saw that in your bio you're interested in like communities and like we have an Angular community here in Kenya. I don't know, Wayne. I don't know if Wayne is still here with us. I think we'll have to have you give a talk at a particular point in time in the
Oh,
Angular Kenya
absolutely.
with us. Yeah,
I really
yeah,
have to be part of it.
yeah. Oh yeah, he's here. Let me just add him to the stream. Wayne.
Hey Wayne, how are you?
Yeah, we'll definitely would love to have Wilson. Thanks very much for the talk, and we'll definitely reach out to you to have a talk with us at Angular Kenya.
Sure, man. Really happy to be part of it. So just give me a call, just send me a message, and happy to be there.
Sure,
Yeah, we'll also be
sure, no
looking forward to
problem.
seeing you
Thank you very much.
physically in Kenya next year.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Those are the real connections, and like you, just a matter of share something. You met some other person. That's it. And really happy to see the community around the world and how we are doing these movements, and such a different situation that we have, and we are always passing together. And it's
Mhm.
really happy to see also all the solutions that we're making to make this. Uh, it's really hard to put some words that can be good, but it's like to make this something that will be remarkable for everyone.
Yeah,
Okay,
for sure.
awesome. Awesome. Thank
Yeah,
you. I
well,
guess we can
I don't
close
have
it
much
with
to
this.
say. I think, yeah,
No,
Yeah.
no, good
So
man.
yeah. So thank you so much, Wilson. Thank you so much, our audience. I think it's safe for us to let Wilson go and sleep or do whatever he does at night. Yeah.
I'll probably play something yet. So yeah, but yeah,
Okay.
then thanks
Thank
so
you.
much, everyone, and enjoy your day.
Enjoy your night. Good night.
Cheers. Bye bye.
Bye.
all right. Thank you guys very much for joining us. Tabi, would you like to close it off?
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Uh,
Yeah.
Let me just do one thing. Yeah, so thank you so much, everyone, for being with us from morning till this time of the day, that is the afternoon. We appreciate you for sparing time. It's a weekend, and for you to join us at Breakfast Kenya, we really appreciate. And thank you so much for also being part of the web community. And I hope you really learned a lot about Angular. I've seen people commenting that people, maybe someone who has been doing React, are like, oh, this is just the same as in React, like components, blah blah blah. All those things that coders know talk about components. Let me not talk about coding. Yeah, but I really hope you guys have learned a lot, and I hope this was an amazing day for you. You can go and share your experiences on Twitter, hashtag #DevFestKenya, hashtag DevFest. You can tag at DevFest Kenya, you can tag anyone, like just share your experience because we are wrapping it up. I mean, this is where we're actually closing off for the day. But then, like we mentioned before, we're going to be having an after party. Those who have been to Discord earlier, you know what's been going on there. So you don't want to miss the fun. You can go on and catch in the fun, get some music, play some music, have some music played for you, and it's Death Fest. Fun time. Thank you guys. See you tomorrow. We'll be having Death Fest tomorrow. That's tomorrow, the last day. Looking forward to seeing
Yeah.
you then. Bye bye.
See you guys tomorrow.